Eyes Up Guardians. My name is Steve, and earlier this week I uploaded this Mario Maker 2 level based on the Whisper, and I got a ton of wonderful comments and feedback from the Destiny community, so I wanted to make a video showing myself doing a playthrough of it, and talking a little bit about the choices I made in the editor. I don't have a real way of recording my Switch gameplay, so I'm just pointing my phone at the Switch in desktop mode, but it looks like it's going to be clear enough for you to see what I want you to see. So I'm going to start with a playthrough. A couple of Reddit users posted playthroughs the day that I put the level up, but neither of those videos found the star that lets you pop your super in the middle of the enemy rooms, so I wanted to show you my own playthrough for that. Okay, here I am in the editor, and I want to talk through some of the decisions that I made when building this level. You start out in this area, which is the Lost Sector, the Grove of Ulantan, that the actual mission starts in. And just like in the actual mission, you can see that you could go through the Lost Sector up to where the boss is, and then jump from there over to the balcony to get down into the new part of the Whisper mission, but doing that is basically just a waste of time. Very early on, after the Whisper was discovered, people realized that you could climb up to the balcony by jumping off of some of the trees, and so I highly recommend that you do that if you're trying to get through this level on a single life within the 200-second time limit. And of course, I chose 200 seconds for the timer as a reference to the 20-minute time limit on the original mission. But because my Mario level has checkpoints in it, the time limit doesn't really matter. If you die, the timer resets. So you don't have to worry about it too much. But if you want the authentic timed experience, you'd have to make a flawless run. So I recommend starting by climbing up on the mushroom, and then you can get to the donut lift. The blocks here represent the blight at the top of the hole that you have to clear before you can jump down into the mission itself. So let's pass through this pipe. Fall down a long hole, put another pipe at the bottom. And now we're into the new parts of the mission. So the mission has a couple of easy jumps at the beginning. I should have 2 of them here, but I only have 1. And then you go through a crawl space. Just after the crawl space is where those first moving blocks should appear, but I merged them into one spot. And after you get past those moving blocks, you get the first difficult jumps of the original mission, where you have to jump very far onto these little rectangular or square-topped platforms. Most people, when doing the original mission, they skip past at least one of those, doing various jump tricks, and in the Mario level you can actually do the same thing. Then you get down to a larger rectangular platform, and in the Destiny version you have to go around the left-hand side, and then through a little crawl space with more moving blocks, which is what we've got here. And then you jump from there down onto a big hemispherical protrusion on the wall, which I represented with this circular bumper. Then you get to a regular platform, and then there's a little lift that you have to ride up to the next part. When I was running the Whisper, that little lift was never in position for me to jump directly on it. I always ended up having to wait, and so I made sure that the lift in my Mario level, you could see it on its way up when you arrived at the platform, and then you had to sit there waiting for it. Eventually you get on it. The lift takes you up to this area. In the original mission, this is a hallway with red lighting and more moving blocks, and so I chose these red on-off blocks to sort of represent that lighting. Some of the other people who posted their own Mario versions of the Whisper did similar things here. I posted the level IDs for some other Whisper missions into my original Reddit post. If you haven't checked those out, I really recommend that you look at them. The other versions that I've seen are easier than mine, but it's really interesting to see how we made similar decisions in some places and different decisions in other places. So after the red hallway, you have another sequence of difficult jumps. In this area, in the original mission, the platforms are all sort of on diagonals, and you have to land on these little ledges, and there are snipers. I've represented the snipers with these fire-spitting piranha plants. In an earlier version of the level, I used hammer bros, but I kind of was leaning too heavily on them, so I switched these out to the piranha plants. And in the Destiny version of the mission, when you're on those little ledges, there are taken blasts that can knock you off of the platforms. I've represented those blasts with these winged muncher plants. They jump just barely high enough to kill you if you are standing on the middle part when they make their biggest jump. So the best way to get through this section in Destiny and in my Mario version is to just go for it. Don't hesitate at all. If you make a maximum length jump for the first one of these jumps, you'll probably miss. You have to hold back just a little bit on that, but then you can go full blast for the rest of it. After you make that last jump, you faceplant into this wall, and there's a little hatch in the Destiny version that opens and closes, and so that hatch is the door. After you go through the hatch, you're into this room. This is where in Destiny the voice of Zol comes on and tells you that you shall drift. So I placed a couple of growling sound effects in here to represent Zol's voice. Got more of those hemispherical objects on the wall, and the pipes represent the portals in the wall that you can jump into. If you jump into any of the first three, you're going to die. The last one, however, takes you to the next part of the level. And that part is the green room. Just like in the Destiny mission, you can work your way through the green room. It's a bit circuitous and takes a little bit of extra time. But once you get through, then you can jump down this hole and proceed. But there's also a shortcut immediately underneath the entrance to the green room. Since these mushroom platforms are not completely solid, you can get Mario, or Toad in my case, to run along here. You would have already seen this in my playthrough. But if you want to drop down there, all you have to do is not run at full blast. And then there's also this hole in the middle of the floor. In the Destiny mission, this leads you to a room that has an unlimited supply of Shadow Thrall. People like to go in there for grinding kills, for weapon catalysts, and that sort of thing. And I really wanted to include that room in my Mario mission. I filled it with a bunch of Monty moles because they bum rush you, just like the Shadow Thrall do. And I made sure there was an infinite supply coming out of this pipe. So regardless of which way you go through the green room, you have to work your way through a couple of twisty hallways. And then you go around the outside edge of this big cylindrical structure. And then in the distance, you can see the target for your next jump, which is a little brightly lit door. And so I placed a donut lift right at the edge of the screen to sort of call back to the light coming through that door that you can see in the distance. So you jump down to there, go through another little bit of twisty passages, and we are now at the entrance to the enemy rooms. So I put the first checkpoint there, so you wouldn't have to redo the platforming. I also added a guitar riff sound effect because the music in the original mission kicks into high gear there. And now we are at the first enemy room. Finally get access to some power-ups, so you can have fireballs. And in this enemy room, the chain chomps, who have sort of a semicircular range of motion, are one of the ways that I represent the Taken Blights. Since chain chomps are fireproof, you can't kill them with your fireballs or get the guys that are behind them with your fireballs. So the only way to kill everything is to actually come into the room. The dry bones serve a similar purpose since they're also fireproof. So you can pick off some of the bad guys from the entrance, but you're going to have to plow in there to take care of everyone. The major for the first room is this Sledge Bro. You can see he's holding a key. In Mario Maker, I couldn't make it so that you had to kill everything in the room before progressing, the way the Destiny missions work. But if you kill the major, at least, then you get the key, and you can move on. So passing through that door takes you down to here. Notice that this entryway into the next enemy room is shaped just like the entryway into the first room, except that this second power-up block appears to be missing, conspicuously so. But if you jump there to check for it, you'll get a star. The reason I put a star there is that back when I was learning this mission in Destiny, it was a common tactic to pop a roaming super as soon as you're done with the first enemy room. That allows you to blow through this room in just a matter of a couple of seconds, and you can make some significant progress in the third room as well. That third room has multiple levels to it, and has some taken wizards, and so of course I put in Magic Koopas for that. And I put the key on one of those Magic Koopas. When you're doing the Mario level, you should be able to kill the Magic Koopa with your star. So this room will take, again, just a matter of a couple of seconds. The door out of that room takes you to the last pre-boss enemy room. Again, we have the same opening structure with the visible power-up block and a second hidden one. This time it just gives you a fire flower. The last enemy room has snipers high up. It has various other sorts of enemies all throughout, including a giant hole in the bottom of the room. And again, in Mario Maker, I can't force you to kill everything in the room to progress, but I put a P-switch over here, so you'll have to at least go through the room, and I provided a POW block, which will kill almost everything that you didn't get on your way in. So you hit the P-switch to clear that barrier, come down to your last checkpoint. I gave you a power up here in case you die during the fight so that you can get your fireballs right back. And I also provided an infinite supply of Buzzy Beetle shells. If you wear this as a helmet, which you couldn't do in the original Super Mario 3, but you can in Mario Maker, it makes you fireproof and basically gives you an extra hit point. And it also means that you have a supply of enemies or a supply of weapons to use against the bosses, even if you should lose your fireballs. So we've got our 3 bosses. We've got some taken blights in the room again to prevent you from just hanging out on the stairs the entire time. You will have to move into the room at least a little bit. And once you get the 3 bosses down, you get the last key, and that basically takes you to the end of the level. So I think that is all of the details that I wanted to talk about. And again, I want to thank the 2 Reddit users who posted playthroughs of this almost right away. That was King DDD17 and I Have Toes. But since neither of them found that star, and I was really proud of representing the Super with the star, I wanted to make sure to point that out to everybody. And I think that'll make getting through the enemy portions of this level a lot easier too, if you're aware of that being there. So again, thank you very much for your enthusiastic response to the level. I'm glad everyone liked it so much, and I had a ton of fun making it, so it's been really rewarding to get so many wonderful comments about it.